Well, hello and welcome to another amazing guest podcast interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. Now, I don't come back and record this intro, so this conversation hasn't happened yet, but I already called it amazing. And the reason is because I know who's on the other end, and this is going to be a good one. So, I wanted to pull up this guest's previous podcast appearance to share it with you. So you can go back and say, hey, let me listen to the first one. But when I did that, I discovered something very interesting. And that is that Molly McGrath was the very first interviewee on the Profit with Law podcast, our very first interview we ever did. So the first 5 episodes was me doing solo episodes. Just I batched a bunch of episodes to release into the ethers, and then we ended up doing for a long time. I did a solo and an interview every week, so a solo on Tuesday, interviews on Thursdays. We're now just doing interviews, at least in the current iteration. We might change that again, but episode number 6, which can be found at profitwithlaw.com/006. We had Molly McGrath on. Have a team that works hard for you with Molly McGrath. And I remember that conversation because it was so good. So I invite you guys to go back and listen to it. Yeah, it happened 4+ years ago, in April of 2019, but it's still relevant to today. We also released an episode 280, which Molly might not even be aware of. It was a replay of a talk she did for the Law Firm Growth Summit in 2021. And that is what your support team needs to help you succeed with Molly McGrath, episode 280. Can be found at profitwithlaw.com/280. So I invite you to go and listen to that one. Molly is an amazing person. And first of all, she wrote 3 books. So Don't Be a Yes Chick is her first one, I believe. And then Entrepreneurs in an Entrepreneur's World. And then the last one, Fix My Boss. And I encourage you to go to her website, hiringandempowering.com, and go and buy those 3 books because um, it's all amazing stuff. And let me put it this way. Molly's secret sauce is helping you build a team that is going to build you. So essentially, her entire message, if I had to boil it down into 1 or 2 sentences, and Molly will correct me if I'm wrong, is simply that you don't want employees. You want people who are going to be entrepreneurs for you. And she calls them entrepreneurs, but basically, the employees should be empowered and should be confident knowing that they are making decisions for you that would be the decisions that you make. And that's really what she does. Her whole business revolves around that, and it revolves around helping you hire the right people and helping you train the right people. And I think where we're going to focus our conversation today is going to be around the one. I've got people on my team. How do I get them doing the right things? How do I get them understanding how the business operates, and how do I get them stepping into that role of the law firm admin in a way that I don't need to do it anymore as the owner? Molly, welcome to the show.
Whoa, so much. Thank you for having me. And wow, you really nailed my elevator pitch there for me. I'm gonna have to go back and transcribe this episode, helping build the team so they can help to build you. I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, you never know what you're going to get here on the Profit
Ah,
with Law podcast.
no,
We'll be your
no.
marketing arm too. No, but in all seriousness, I love you as a personality. I mean, you just light up the room when you come in. But I also love what you're doing and the message that you have. And we've had you at multiple events of ours. We've collaborated a bunch of times, and I really enjoy hanging out with you. And I think my listeners are in for a treat with us diving into this conversation. We're going to skip the background because they can go back
Yep.
and listen to episode 6 where we probably talked about that. And let's jump right into the content we want to cover. Talk to me about this. I mean, you have a program for training your admin. So essentially, somebody hires a person into their firm and they're now running the firm for them, or hopefully going to run the firm for them, and you have a training program for that. I don't want to spend the whole next 30 minutes talking about your training program, but I
Nope.
do want to talk about why it's important to train your people and invest in them in a way that um, that builds them up and lets them know that you believe in them and you're confident in their abilities uh and are basically their cheerleaders.
Yes, I love that. You know, it's the law firm admin boot camp and academy. And each week that I just really get working it with law firms across the country in this program, my mission to transform the legal space with the employees. And let me just clarify. When you are people use the word team, employee, what have you. I have, our dear friend Joey Vitale, his group is in there overseas VAs from the Philippines. I have Brett Tremblay's get staffed up people, and my own team who are in the Philippines, my marketing coordinators, what have you. So whatever your definition of an employee, a team is, it's not just W-2 full time. It is somebody that you are writing, exchanging money with to support you and to give you that entrepreneurial freedom, financial freedom the reason you hung your own shingle in the first place. So for me, I'm really passionate about, and I'll just use this word universally, team and admin team. So what does that mean? Marketing coordinators, receptionists, intake coordinators, non-attorney salespeople, CEOs, whatever definition, the non-attorneys. I have some paralegals in the program. And to your point, so often, especially in this landscape, and I'm kind of sick of talking about pandemic and this landscape and the employee quiet quitting, blah, blah, blah. It's always been happening. It's just in stereo now. And in the legal space in particular, where entrepreneurs are investing in programs like yours, they are really starting to shift and see their business like a business. And they want to act and behave and walk and talk like an entrepreneur, but they're met at the door with resistance from their support team because they don't have access to the education, training, coaching, growth, law firm growth that many of your law firms are now getting access to. So I'm really passionate about the team and training them how to become legal leaders, leading legal leaders. Use the word confidence. So often at the end of the day, that's the missing ingredient. And it's very difficult for people to train confidence. I can tell you I believe in you all day. I can give you the autonomy and the freedom and what have you. But in my experience, especially if you're quote unquote just a receptionist making 16 or 20 bucks an hour, you've never been given that opportunity. And the boss, the attorney can say it until they're blue in the face, but until I get it in my bones and blood, it's not going to land, and it is not going to grow legs and be able to really give the attorney the entrepreneurial freedom. So that's where I start with really giving you the confidence. And how do you get the confidence? When you actually do something that scares the living crap out of you, that you have no training or knowledge or what have you. And the attorney says, I trust you. And then in no uncertain terms, just don't screw it up. Right. And so how do you handle that when you do screw it up? Because guess what? You will. But how do you communicate like a CEO? How do you take responsibility? How do you have permission and not crumble and quit because you're like, I'm not cut out for law, especially if you don't come with the law background. And that's really where I'm most passionate about them, is to really know what it takes to be able to. It's one thing to get the attorney to delegate, because so often people will say they're control freaks, they won't delegate, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, it's fair. They are, until you can over communicate with them that they can have confidence in you, even when you do screw it up, because you're going to come with a proposed solution. Well, this will be the first and last time that occurs.
Yeah, now we talk on this podcast all the time about, in expanding your team, and you mentioned Brett Tremblay, Joey Vitale. Just real quick for folks, if you're listening and you're wondering what in the world she was talking about, both of them have companies that really got created from their own need within their firm, but essentially they give you access to overseas VAs, people who are fairly inexpensive. You could probably get you could probably get 3 overseas VAs for one um,
Yes.
stateside in office, admin person or receptionist person as far as cost goes, which is really exciting. But at the same time, it adds a whole new piece to the puzzle because they're not in the office. They're remote. You don't see them. So normally if you walk somebody by somebody's office and you notice that they're like sitting there daydreaming, you can be like, "Hey, you don't have something to do? Let's talk about this." But they're somewhere else. You're not watching them. So you kind of have to have a different way or a different dynamic of how you deal with that. But real quick, if you're wondering how you could get started, we work with both of those companies. Get Staffed Up is a staffing agency. So basically, they'll give you candidates. You'll choose the candidate, but essentially they work for Get Staffed Up. You pay Get Staffed Up a fee, and they handle all of the HR side of that employee. And they're around $2,000 a month for a full-time person. You can get $750 off of your onboarding fee if you go there at profitwithlaw.com/get staffed up. Just connect with them through that link, and you can use that discount, the Profit with Law podcast discount of $750. Um, on the flip side, Joey Vitale, who is a coach within one of our programs, our elite program, and he helps our clientele with their leadership and staffing challenges and overcoming those. Um, he has built I don't know if it's multi-million or more than $1 million law firm doing trademarks with him as the attorney, but essentially his staff is doing all the work. Like there's very little that he's doing as the attorney, and even even his C-suite people, his managers, his people who are running the entire operation are virtual employees. I don't know if they're all VAs, but they're all virtual employees. And it's really interesting the model that he created. But he also created something called Global Vetted VAs, which is more of a finding service. So basically, you pay them a fee. At the time we're recording this, I think it's like 2,500 bucks, and you pay them that fee, and they'll find you, they'll source the VA for you, and they'll help you find the right candidate. But then you pay the VA yourself. You handle the HR side of it yourself. The VA ends up costing you less per month once they're onboarded. I think that if you're hiring somebody directly overseas, you can get a full-time 40-hour person for as low as $1,000 a month. So pretty insane what's possible out there. And you can go to profitwithlaw.com/GVA. So Global Vetted VAs, GVA, and access that link there. We'll put all these links in the show notes so you have them. But Molly, I want to go back to what you shared. It sounds like your program supports all the roles, right? So
Yes.
so you're not teaching them how to do billing, or you're not teaching them how to work with this CRM system or this practice management system. You're essentially just helping them understand how to navigate the role of employee and the role of support person to the attorney or the law firm owner. So I'm just curious how that all works. What what do you find is missing? I know from my own experience with working with clients and internally myself, there's this role switch that happens. The owner holds on to things and is afraid to delegate, doesn't want to delegate. But when they finally come to terms with, oh, I understand I should delegate, they then turn around and just assume that the person they're delegating to is just going to do everything. And they just say, here, go do this. And they just give them a list of things to do without really teaching them how to do it, without taking the time to understand that there's a transition period, a training period for them to learn each of these tasks, and that they need hand holding along the way. Um, is that the kind of thing that you're running into with your clients? And what are we doing to navigate that or overcome that?
Yeah, I love that question. And just to clarify, the same thing that it takes to get the delegation is the same problem to get billing entered every single day. So my program does train. We don't have a whole module on how to do billing, but in a roundabout, we teach all of that. So we kick off with the 12-week boot camp that everyone write down to the paralegal. So whether it's how to do billing, how it's to shorten the life cycle of the lead cycle or the case matter, we handle it. Because at the end of the day, to your point, it does come down to the confidence and competence to be able to manage, facilitate, and lead a direction, a task, a to-do, a meeting, a retreat, whatever it is, a billing task. And it all comes down to clarity and accountability at the end of the day. So I train the team in regards to, number one, getting their confidence up, but also getting clarity in their job description and getting clarity in every task. So to your point, the attorney does want to delegate. They just don't know how to. And they're deathly afraid because everybody's picking from their past. The last time I delegated to someone, we got slapped with a bar complaint or whatever it might be. So we all have our war chest and our graveyard of horror stories of doing it in the past. So how are we going to trust it's going to be any different this time? And that's where I feel I come in, because I can speak the language of an employee, whether you're a receptionist or probate paralegal or the professional law firm administrator, in how to burn the boats on the past and how to communicate and operate like a CEO. So the next time your attorney says, go do this, you don't walk out of the room and say, okay, and try to figure it out. You actually, I give them the process of how to take a look at the list, look at the email, whatever it might be, and how to communicate and project manage it like a CEO, and clarify and verify on the intended outcome, what the milestone looks like when they bring it back to them, and then for the employee to be resourceful to figure out the how to. That's why, in my opinion, and unlike what Joey and Brett do, I only do W-2 permanent placement, because many firms do need that brick and mortar person in the building and what have you. So we all work really well together, but so often, that's what I'll hear from attorneys. I'm not going to hire. I know I need to hire. I know I need to delegate, but I don't have time to train, and they better come batteries included. And that's where I feel that I step in, is because I don't love the word soft skills so often. People will say, well, the soft skills. I'm like, they're the most important skills of them being able how to manage. How often have you, maybe you can resonate with this, I know I sure can, where you finally are like, all right, great, I'm going to get out of this control freak trap. I'm going to stop expecting disappointment from my people, and I'm going to have some faith, and I'm going to start delegate. And you delegate, and then you never hear from anybody at all. And so there you're like, proof of concept, not doing that again. Just so I know I can't trust my people. And at the end of the day, the attorneys are right. The entrepreneurs are right, because employees have never been trained how to communicate, manage, facilitate, and hold people accountable. They even the word accountability, we're all trained that we should be afraid of that word. And I really train how that's your best friend. Accountability for you, for me, for you, for us. And it goes right down to the attorney. What are your top revenue producing activities? Oh, you're supposed to review those documents so we can actually deliver to the client and get that $25,000 fee. Guess what? Give me your cell phone, get off Facebook. It'll take you 30 minutes to review it. I'm going to sit here. I got you a sandwich, a Coke, and I'm now a professional babysitter. Get your work done. And training them on how to do it. And attorneys I had an attorney that literally called me this morning. He's like, well, now that you've empowered and trained my team so much, I'm in a position right now where how I told you 2 weeks ago, I wanted to hire an associate attorney, launch the ads. We're ready, because they have seen where they have so much hidden opportunity and money laying all over their office because the attorney was a bottleneck. And the team were really holding the attorney's dream and feet to the fire, often in spite of themselves. So we say we want to, when we interview, think about this. I'll just say this really quick. When we all say, okay, I'm ready to hire, how do we write ads, review resumes, and interview people? We want to make sure they're confident. We want to make sure they have leadership skills. We want to make sure they have project management skills, all the things that we interview them for. But then when we hire them and they start to show up that way, we resist it and resent it. I don't want you managing my calendar. I don't want you telling me what to do, what have you. But that's what we want in people. We want people that have the confidence to say, no, attorney, you've moved this 5 times on your calendar. I know it's not your highest unique ability that you want to do, but here's the deal. Do it 5 times. It'll generate an additional $150,000. And guess what? Now we have the money to hire the next associate attorney. Right now, you have to be the sacrificial lamb. You have to do the stuff that sucks the life out of you. But I guarantee there is money and systemization on the other side of this if you do it 5 times. And then we have proof of concept of why we can go hire that next associate attorney. And then you have your visionary freedom. You willing to play along with me? Imagine if you had a team member like that.
Yeah, it would be a breath of fresh air for sure. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with one of our team members with exactly that. Like he's supposed to be the second in command, right? He's supposed to be making sure things are happening. And I am the bottleneck for some of the things in our business. I mean, I'm the face
Yeah.
of a lot of the things that we do. So he's waiting on me to like give him, we're doing a quiz funnel and he's waiting for me to help him correlate, how the answers to the quiz questions correlate to the correct responses on the end. And I've been kicking the can down the road. And then when we're talking, he's like, well, you're the bottleneck and this is not happening. I said, yeah, I need you to tell me that clear your
Yes.
calendar, sit with me for an hour, and let's do this so that we can get this released and get this next thing done. I know I'm the bottleneck, like deep down, I know that's happening, but there's so many other things going on that for me, it's not the highest priority item. But when it's your highest priority item, I need to know that. I need you to
Mm.
make that happen. So I completely get and understand, how that happens and where you're coming from with it. What's interesting is that, I've always everything I do, I approach from educating the business owner, right? So I've always approached this from let me teach the law firm owner how to train their staff, how to properly communicate expectations and objectives and timelines and deliverables to their staff. What I love with what you're doing is that it's really taking it out of the law firm owner's hands and saying, hey, let
Yes.
me task your employees with extracting this information from you so that you're not the one sitting there like it's your fault that they didn't do what they were supposed to. Instead, they should understand what they need to get from you and go get it, go ask for it. Now, I imagine the law firm owner needs to be in a position where they're willing to receive that, right? Like I think it would only work if they really understand what's happening. How do you educate the law firm owner? I mean, they're not sitting through this boot camp, right? So, what's happening on the other side when you're teaching the staff this is how you need to act?
I love that question. No, they don't. They very rarely they say that they're open to change, but they aren't. And let's just be honest, we aren't. So first and foremost, every week a recap email goes to the attorney with the video from me, 3 to 5 minutes, and it says, "Here's what your team learned this week. Here's your homework. Here's where you need to not be a bottleneck and resist it and trust them and try it on." And so when they start getting these videos, because first and foremost, first question anyone says to me, what are you telling my people and training my people? Because if they're all marching in here and quitting or asking for a raise, I'm not paying you to do that. I'm like, fair, 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 fair. But to use your point, it's not I train them. Don't ask your attorney, tell them, where it's anchored to the strategic goals and things of that nature. So the attorneys are resistant, and you get to be. They say they're not, but it's change, right? It's no different if you're trying to implement profit first and you're like, all right, you're going to set up these accounts. And they're like, whoa, 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 no, 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 no. You're going to start paying yourself first. What, no, no. Like, I just take whatever's left over at the end of the day. And, it's change. It's change first and foremost. But if you're willing to play along with it, to use your example, I'll share with you. So each week We do a weekly hiring, training, and onboarding live coaching hour. We do a live marketing call where all the marketing coordinators come. We do intake and sales coordinator, and then we do a process and production where it's paralegals, what have you. Just this week in the marketing call, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Team members are freaking out because the attorney launched Facebook ads, hired a company to launch Facebook ads to webinar. Their phone's ringing off the hook. They're getting leads, right? So client services losing their
Shocker.
mind because they're too busy. So they start freaking out. And then the marketing people are furious because the leads aren't converting. And so they both show up on there. The attorney's with them. The attorney sometimes calls and the attorney comes to the calls and he's like, I want to respect my team, but I don't, what do we do? Should we shut off marketing? I'm like, no. All right. First of all, let's talk about this. So we kind of anchored into it and anchored into their time templates, number one, anchored into why the leads were not crap and talking about their follow-up process. Well, they were freaking out because they did not have their automation set up. And we just identified the loopholes, right? But I'm using this example because most attorneys, in my experience, are super respectful and don't want to blow up their team. So if you have client services and marketing coming in saying this marketing initiative was a complete bust, client service saying the phone's ringing off the hook, they're killing me, marketing saying they're all garbage leads. And so then the message, of course, the attorney is going to say, yes, turn it off. Well, when we broke it down into both of their perspectives and how actually marketing to intake to conversions work, they were all walked out with a path and plan that worked and they weren't shutting off marketing. And that's an example that happens every single day in our open coaching and growing hours, because that would have been devastational for the law firm. Devastational. They had leads at $62 a lead that were completely qualified. There was just a breakdown in their automation in their
Yeah,
CRM.
and I think this also highlights something else, which is, often as the visionary, as the person at the top, we take a shower and we come up with a good idea and we walk in and we say, I've got a great idea. And we just say, go do it. But we don't really think about the ramifications of that action. And we don't think about
Yes.
how other teams or other people are affected by it. And we fail to close the loop on it. So I think that if I came and said, hey, I've got this great marketing idea, we're gonna go. I mean, I just mentioned the quiz funnel, so let's, we're gonna
Yep.
we're gonna implement this quiz funnel. I want it live by the end of the week. Well, my team should then turn around and say, okay, no problem, we can implement this, but have we created the process of what to do when the leads come in? Are we ready
Yes.
for the influx of leads?
Yes.
Are we trained on what the next steps are? Or if there's automation that needs to happen, is that automation happening? Those are questions that marketing should be trained to ask back when they're tasked with this.
Yes.
Because they ultimately, yeah, they want to produce leads and that's how they can show that they're performing, but they also understand that those leads need to convert to sales or they don't have a job. So, um, and that's not in their control. So it's in their
Right.
best interest to understand that, like, hey, I got to get the other people on board. I'm working with a firm right now, and one of the things that I'm doing very carefully is working with marketing and sales or intake, however you want to call it, to understand each other because marketing thinks, oh, I'm doing a great job. I've got all these leads coming in. But at the same time, their cost per acquisition is way higher than it should be. And that's happening because there's a disconnect between what marketing is considering a success and what intake is finding on their end. So we need to
Yes.
get the two of them to play nice together to understand that not every lead is created equal. And we need to look at the lead sources where they're coming in from and the conversions that are happening from those sources. Because one source that seems like a home run because it's costing us $10 per lead might be producing 1,000 crap leads when another one is costing $100 a lead. We're closing 75% of them and we'll spend that every day. So it's like really understanding how those two dynamics work and getting them to play nicely together. And I think when it comes to the team, it's not just understanding how I need to interact with the law firm owner, but how do I need to interact with the whole team at large? Now, What are you
Yeah.
doing to bring everybody together?
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to highlight, I love that you're working with the sales and marketing team, but I want to bring something too. So I use the example, attorney has this shower idea, right? When are the
Mhm.
shower ideas going to stop? Never.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell the team. They're like, oh, great, they took a shower. Oh, great, they went to this legal conference. Here we go. Here we go. I'm like, they're never going to stop. So, and you don't want to resist them because guess what? Your attorney's just going to stop sharing them with you. And then they're either going to be frustrated and never delegate because they get meet with the resistance all the time, or they're going to go hire outside people and not share it with you. And the phone's still going to ring off the hook and blow up your process. So which way do you want it? Like, let's all get on the same page. And so that's what, to answer your question, it's really to get to the whiteboard, if you will, and really to get the ideas out there and then to come up with a process for how we facilitate them. To your point, quiz funnels, you're talking to your team. Of course, they're going to say, yes, they want to do it. But I always tell attorneys, when you finally made it, when you come up with your next, shiny object idea, which please don't ever stop having them. And you can't wait to share them. And you bring them to the marketing meeting. Hell, you bring them to the wrong meeting, and the team knows how to facilitate that. So you are met with not no and not resistance. When you bring the quiz funnel idea to your team, they're like, all right, fantastic. They go to the whiteboard and they come there, and the powerful questions they are asking about pre, during, and post idea. And they are talking about how it impacts every role within the firm. And they're talking about from pre-launch to post-launch. And when they are the powerful questions, Tony Robbins, I always love, the quality of your life is based on the quality of your life, the quality of your business, insert the quality of your money. Everything is based on the powerful questions that come during the interaction. And that's when you know it, you met it. You are not met with resistance, which is energy and a flat out hard no. You are met with these thought-provoking, thought leader, empowered questions that when you are an entrepreneur and you're a business owner on the other side, you're like, great question. I didn't think about that. You don't need to know the answer, but you're just so pumped that your people are asking these questions. And that's when you know you have arrived as a true business owner, visionary, and entrepreneur because of the quality of the people that you have surrounded yourself with and the approachability and the energy that you have built your culture on, because they're not afraid to say it, think it, and to be operating and interacting with you like that, because they know you're available and approachable for it.
Love it. Molly, I have a question for you. When is
Sure.
the right time to enroll an admin in your boot camp?
Today, like I truly have people that come in on day one. The day one of their employment is there because you're taking a lot of the mindset, the intentionality, the project management, not the soft skills. I don't know what the word is, but the truest skills off your plate so they can be working on the how to. So I say from day one, I have probably no less than 30 people in my program right now that are in their first or second week of employment with their law firm. Part-time, full-time,
Amazing.
VA, brick and mortar, it doesn't matter.
What is the time commitment for the employee when they're going through this?
Great question. I say on average 4 hours a week that they are
Oh,
implementing
that's
that for
not bad. It's like
either
an hour a day.
exactly the live coaching events, depending on what role they sit, because we have for HR, marketing. I already listed out all the area. An hour for going through the 12-week boot camp, which is pre-recorded, and then an hour a week for implementation with their attorney. So weekly stakeholders meeting, and then 30 minutes a day for the daily huddle that they are managing and facilitated, that is based on process, production, and profitability.
Very, very interesting. I wish we had more time to dive even further into this, but I
Yes.
think we covered a good chunk of understanding why it's important to train your admin. We internally we invested in our team this past year, and I sent two of our team members to a leadership training, and it was an in-person like 3-day event. I had to fly them
Wow.
out there, put them up in a hotel, but there's there's something that happens when you do that, and basically you're letting your people know that they're worth investing in.
Mm,
That's an extra piece that's like the hidden silver lining of something like this is like, yeah, I need them to get trained, and this training sounds fabulous and sounds like the perfect thing to really get them to become owners of their responsibility. And not just that, but to also help you with moving the needle forward. Instead of you sitting there trying to like tell everybody, here's what our goals are, and I want everybody to do their part. They want to do their part on their own, and they're trying to push you into like, hey, give us some goals. And that's really where we want our people to be, is where they're owning that conversation and they're really pushing you uh, to that next level. So I love the idea, but there's this hidden silver lining of, when you invest in your people and you tell them, hey, look, I really want to elevate you within our team, and I want you to become a much better uh, teammate. And to do that, I've enrolled you in this program, and I want you to see that I'm willing to invest in you, and I think that we can be so much better together by going through this. So I think there's another level or aspect to this that we're not even talking about that really just tells somebody you're worth investing in, and there's no better vote of confidence than that.
I agree. I always say it's a gift, not a fix, for it. And the time to invest, if you're asking yourself, then you need to, because the writing's probably on the wall. If you're not investing in your people, and I know it comes with the risk, uncertainty, and vulnerability, especially if they leave like you. I mean, that's no small feat. Hotels, meals, airfare, all that. And most often, I think as entrepreneurs, we're like, and I'll say this super quick in closing, gamify it, right? So, Moshe, to use your example, two people, that's that's a big investment. How do you have a guarantee that they're not going to leave 2 weeks after you invest in them, or they're not going to mess something up and you're going to have to fire them? You have to gamify it. And in the program, we actually just did this in open coaching hours yesterday of what do we do pre, during, and post investing in sending someone in a program, including an attorney going to a conference. So you have to game, how am I getting an ROI off of this from day one when they get back in the office? And if I get an ROI on day one and they leave 2 days later, I'm okay. So you take the emotion out of it and you anchor it to that. And to your point, it's a gift for your team, not a fix. It's not about them becoming a better. Listen, I know I don't have a time and energy to train you. I know that I'm not sharing the overall vision for you. I know that you see me every single day in back to back to back client meetings, and I'm busy and the stress is high in the law firm. Guess what? We want to get off the crazy train. I'm going to invest in this for you, and you come back to me with proposed solutions. And I want to empower you to see that I see something in you, even if you don't see it in yourself. And I believe in you, and I want to invest in you, and for you to go and get the solution and bring it back to us.
Love it. As we do when we close out every
Yes.
episode, two parting things. Number one, what's your number one piece of advice, parting piece of wisdom? Last thing you want to share with our audience. Number two, how do they get in touch with you, find out more about this program, and perhaps enroll all of their team members in it?
Yep, easy one first. Lawfirmadminbootcamp.com. That's how you can enroll, learn more about the program. And it's a month-to-month program, no long-term contract. So easy for you to invest and get proof of concept. Number two, or number one, I'll go back to number one. My biggest parting, your people are not a liability, they're an asset. And if you right now, I love Moshe, you just said something and I wrote it down when you said it. I think I'll leave you with this question to quote Moshe. Are your people worth investing in? And if that is not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. And so if it's a maybe, and you're sitting on that place, then it's definitely time to invest in them and give them the tools that they need to support them. But that might be your biggest problem. You might be tolerating, I'm not sure, or tolerating bad people better than nothing, or what have you. If it's not a hell yes for you, then I would say that's an opportunity for you to take a real deep power of the pause and to look at your culture, look at if your people should be your most exciting thing, not the thing that you hide from or dread communicating and interacting with.
Incredible. Incredible. I just went there, by the way. Do I see this right? Is it one price for the firm and all of your
Yep.
team
Yep.
members can join?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I do it. Like,
Molly.
yeah, I make it easy. There's no excuses. No excuse.
Incredible.
I don't
Incredible.
have the money. Nope, no excuses.
And it's free every month. Like there's no chart. No, I'm kidding. It's
No.
there's a fee, but
That's
497
a
a month.
typo.
497 a month.
Yep.
You're giving
Yep.
it away.
I am.
You're giving it
No
away.
excuses.
Oh my
No
goodness.
excuses.
You know, this conversation, I mean, really, like there's no better sales pitch for this program than the conversation we just had. If you have team members or even thinking about hiring team members, invest in them and put them through this program. And it's not just, I mean, it's your whole team can be in it. So everybody's on the same page. Nobody has different information than somebody else. I love this, Molly. This is incredible. Thank you very much for being here. And
Have
folks, if
me.
you enjoyed this conversation, first of all, go back and listen to those other episodes that Molly's been on. We shared them at the beginning of the show. Everything we talked about is linked up in the show notes. Just click the link in your podcast player or go to profitwithlaw.com and access the most recent podcast episode. And you'll find this conversation along with all of those resource links, as well as it written up as a blog. So if you want to review and don't want to listen again, you can totally go and do that there. Also, I invite you to check out our YouTube channel, profitwithlaw.com/YouTube. This episode will be up there, but we also have a ton of really short 60-second, 90-second videos for you to consume, as well as some that are a little bit longer, some different content than we have here on the podcast. We also have every podcast episode placed there as well, that you can, if you prefer video, you want to see what's going on, you want to see how incredible our guests look when they show up here on camera, you can definitely go to our YouTube channel and check that out. Folks, if you are not subscribed to this podcast, you want to make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get notified every time we release a new episode. We've got one coming out every single week on Thursdays. We've been doing that consistently since March of 2019 and do not plan to stop. So you want to make sure that you are subscribed, tuned in, so you don't miss amazing guests like Molly when they come on the show. And that's it. I'm going to ask you for a review, but I'll do that on the next one because, hey, I got to do the next recording. Take care. We'll see you next week on Thursday.